Coach Brian Billick of NFL Network. Coach, how you doing?
I am doing great today.
Coach, what's happening?
Hey, Deanna, how you doing, man?
I'm just hanging out. Kay was wondering, is it okay to call you Coach? Because I think she feels a little bit uncomfortable with that.
I just did it seamlessly.
Not in the least. That's what I am. That's a whole lot better than what a lot of people call me. So I'll take Coach any day of the week.
All right, Coach, everyone's real excited about the NFL season kicking off tonight. But we have a bit of a poll question here, and I'm alone. Let's say that you didn't cover football for the National Football League, and you had a choice. You could only choose to watch college football all season long or NFL. Which would you go with and why?
Oh, boy, that because I really enjoy the college game, the diversity of the college game in terms of styles of play, the levels. But, oh, boy, not how do you not go with the best of the best?
That's
the best
right.
Athletes in their profession, in the world. I'd say
Take your time. Take your time.
Let me get which way you're going. I'd have to lean towards the NFL. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
You went with the college stuff, Donnie?
Well, my thing was I went with the NFL, but as long as I could watch Michigan.
But you can't.
And they told me I couldn't watch it. So I was wondering, is it on TV or can I listen to
Why are you
Michigan?
making it so complicated?
Because sometimes you have to think about these types of things. It's not just like a direct question. You can't watch and listen or listen. What do you think?
Black and white, cut and dry, bud.
Come on. All right, I went with NFL. Fine.
We swayed you. We won you over.
You won me over. Oh, man, Coach. So how are things going? Are you excited about this upcoming season?
I am. It's obviously there are the teams at the top that everybody looks at in terms of in the NFC, the Seattles and the San Franciscos, although they've taken a few hits as of late. And in the AFC, a lot of people obviously are picking and seeing Denver and New England again being at the top. But outside of those top-tier teams, and it's still debatable whether they're going to be there or not, that next level, it is just so wide open. There are so many teams that you can make a case for in terms of both in the NFC and the AFC, in terms of where that challenge could come from and who's going to find their way into the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I tell you what, this thing is as wide open as I can remember it being.
Now, I was doing some digging, and I, number one, I found out that we're both Pisces, so I just want to give you that big shout-out because we're both born in February. Big ups, 28th,
I appreciate that. That's a huge part of why we've always gotten along.
Exactly. But then I was also looking at some things, and, obviously with this upcoming season, one of the positions that's obviously made a transition and an extreme evolution is the tight end position. And you used to play tight end. And, you were one of the bigger guys. When you're looking at some of these teams that are going to make it to the playoffs and be consistent about that, and you look at the evolution of a Jimmy Graham, a Kyle Rudolph, or Travis Kelce, all those guys are big just like you are. I mean, are you the one that kicked that off, really, but people don't really know about that?
Yes, that's a trivia question. I'm the one that started out the evolution of the tight end position no, that's very kind of you. But it has been interesting to see as that position has evolved because it's kind of like an arms race. That it can be such an impact for an offense because you can attack the middle of the field. That's often where you have the best mismatches. And then it's forced defenses to put more assets and better athletes at the safety position. Used to be, you don't need to take a safety until the second or third round, and you never waste a first-round pick on a safety. But now that's changed because the tight end is such a viable. We have so many great tight ends that do impact the game. In this arms race of if you've got this, I've got to have that. That the safety position, the cover safety, the ability that can also cover the tight end and come down the box and play these 8-man boxes that we play. The game has definitely evolved and if you want one, maybe you get lucky and pick one up in the later round, but you better go get them in an early round because that's where the best athletes are.
NFL Network analyst, Coach Brian Billick, joining us here on the Dan Patrick Show. Coach, what's your policy on rookie quarterbacks?
Well, I just wrote a piece for NFL.com that it always scares you, but the premise of what I wrote about was in today's football, if you draft a rookie in the first round, you better play him. And if you don't, you maybe have the wrong guy. And as we go through and see the Blake Bortles and Johnny Manziel and Teddy Bridgewater, it sounds like they're not going to start. You go back to 2007, we've had 18 quarterbacks taken in the first round since 2007. And not including the three that were taken this last year. And of that, they almost all, to a man, had to start somewhere in the first year. And those that didn't, right from the get-go, it didn't fare well. It didn't fare well. They don't last. The only ones that as you go forward, Mark Sanchez and Brandon Wheaton were the only quarterbacks that did start the season as a rookie that are no longer with their teams. The others that did, in varying degrees certainly, but at least they're still with their teams. So I guess when I look at the three quarterbacks we're talking about, when we're talking about Bortles in Jacksonville and Manziel in Cleveland and Bridgewater in Minnesota, I guess my point would be, do you really think Chad Henne, Brian Hoyer, Matt Castle are going to take you to the playoffs, take you to the Super Bowl? And if the answer is no, and I think most people would agree, then every snap that those rookie quarterbacks take, that's how much better you're going to be as a team to open the season 2-15. Why not get them the experience? And if the argument is, well, I don't know that they're emotionally ready for the onslaught, well, then again, you wasted a first-round pick. And I think, if you miss on a first-round quarterback, you're in trouble as an organization. You're in trouble as a coach. And if you made the determination that these guys are worthy of first-round picks, then you got to play them.
Yeah, and I love the point you made about Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre and him being a different caliber than all of the quarterbacks you mentioned, being Henne and Castle and so forth. Mentally ready, physically ready, what's the difference in a rookie quarterback?
Well, physically, they're ready. I mean, these are mature young men. They'll certainly go through a maturation process, but the game, you always hear the term for a quarterback that's finally evolved in that position, well, the game has slowed down. Well, a lot of that has to do with the mental aspect of the game. Literally physically slows down as you begin. Bill Walsh thought it happened usually in the 20 to 25th game when things really begin to add up. For the most part, most rookies will tell you it's just a blur. I remember sitting with Tim Tebow and doing one of his games late in the season. He says, Coach, I swear they've got 12 guys over there. They're cheap because it really is, as good a quarterback as you may be, it really is a blur until you begin to sort out. The game slows down because you mentally and intellectually begin to grasp the game a little bit better. And that just that's where it goes back to the point. You don't learn from the sideline. You really don't. And, Honey, you can attribute to this. Yeah, there's maybe some subtle little things, takes a little bit of the pressure off, but you don't really learn until you get on the field in a game. And so that's the only way these quarterbacks are going to get on that track for the game to slow down, to be what they anticipate them to be as a first-round draft choice. You only get that in a game. You don't get it in practice.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that statement in terms of being able to sort of understand the game, and it definitely slows down over time because that's just you maturing through and actually understanding exactly what's going on. So, if you were, looking at some of the quarterbacks that are out there right now, would you give them the entire book if they were to start, or would you give them only a portion of it? Because I've heard arguments towards both, a guy like Manziel, if he comes in and he gets a couple different plays that are manufactured for him, right? Or, Derek Carr is out there. Do you give them the entire playbook, or do you only give him a portion of the playbook and let him evolve into the position and learn accordingly?
Well, you're going to expose them to the entire playbook, but then, as you well know, Don, the training camps actually can be a little tougher because you are giving them the entire spectrum, and you're not necessarily bringing it down to specific plays to attack a defense because you don't prepare a lot for the teams that you're playing in preseason. It's very cursory. It's just maybe a day or so compared to the entire week. Now the playbook tends to shrink anyway from week to week because you're getting ready for a very specific opponent, for a very specific defense. No one takes their entire playbook into a game. I don't care if it's Brett Favre or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Peyton Manning. So you have the entire playbook, but then now you do find, and for a rookie, find the things that they're most comfortable with, the go-to things that they seem to have a comfort zone with, and then you keep pressing the envelope to expand that so they eventually can go into a game with the full repertoire of plays that they need in order to win.
Coach, we've got about 30 seconds left. I need to know which quarterback will have the best statistical season, Manziel, Bortles, or Bridgewater, and I need your Super Bowl pick as well.
Oh, boy. It's always great. And I've been telling
We're
people
just leaning on you.
I'm doing a ton of radio shows, and I'm picking different teams every time. So
Okay, well, I'll write this one down and remind you.
I told you, Cleveland and Detroit were going to be in the Super Bowl. You know, I can always cover myself.
Okay.
I think Blake Bortles right now is ahead, and we'll get into the game sooner. And I think I like him. That's why he was third pick compared to the other two. And you know what the heck? I think Seattle can get back to the Super Bowl. I think it'll be New England.
Seattle, New England. Very, very nice. Thank you so much.
How insightful.
Yeah, for joining us. You can always follow Mr. Billick on Twitter at Coach Billick, and you can check him out on NFL Network's NFL Game Day Live Sunday, Week 1, 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, Coach.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Coach.